Right, now for the final part of the demo, what I'm going to do is put along here a very simple snow scene where we have fir trees in the background, something like these, but using the wet in wet technique to create a lovely misty effect that gives great atmosphere and foggy misty backgrounds. And then what I'm going to do once that's dried is to bring in some white gouache here, which you may be able to see. I've put some more out in the middle, you can see that perhaps a bit clearer. I've also mixed some of the white with a little bit of ultramarine blue, and that will give us a nice blue to create some snow shadows. Right, I'm going to start off by creating this bluey grey background misty scene. Now I don't want this too dark, so I'm going to water this down quite a bit. Add some more burnt umber into that colour, gives us a little bit more grey there like that. The next thing I'm going to do with the rigger is take some of the dark colour we use for the shadow areas here. Now this is quite strong paint, but because we're putting it into what's already a damp piece of paper with quite a bit of paint on, then it's going to spread out, and surprise surprise, it'll spread out almost exactly in the shape of a tree. In this case, with a little bit of manipulation, but not very much, we'll get it to spread out in the shape of a fir tree. Now when we put this colour on and it's still very wet on the paper, you can see what happens. I'm going to spread that out just a little bit. It really is like putting ink on blotting paper. Now as we move along, you'll find that these, as the paper is drying off, these trees, or the paint rather, won't spread as near as much. And it doesn't matter if there's all sorts of different thicknesses, because it gives a great depth. You can see I'm deliberately not taking the whole thing down to the base. There's one that's a little bit closer. We'll just dab that in a little bit like that. See how easy that is? Just bring it down a bit. Let's bring it out, let's bring it back. Maybe the mist sort of rolling round and covering half the tree there, who knows. I hope you notice that I'm doing these at different angles. I'm not doing them all vertically dead straight and upright. Trees very rarely all grow up in a straight line. They grow at all sorts of angles depending upon the terrain and prevailing winds. Because you've drawn something here that's, or painted something here that passably looks like a fir tree or a whole series of fir trees, when you start scribbling in all sorts of something and nothing abstract shapes like that, people automatically think, oh, they must be little bushes and trees. You don't have to sort of try and paint a little label on that says this is a bush or this is a tree. People will do that for you. It's amazing the sort of things you can create, the power of suggestion. What we're going to do now is put a couple of larger fir trees, and we're going to add some white gouache on to create the snow. Now if you remember our little bristly friend, the cheap bristle brush that very effectively created this tree here, here's its bigger brother. It was actually part of the same set, another few coppers. Now this is a flat brush about 3/8 of an inch wide, same sort of cheap bristles, but it's going to create these foreground fir trees for us before we put the gouache on. Right, obviously with this sort of brush head, I'm not going to be able to create those fine points, so I'll bring the rigger in for those again. But what I can do is, if I start about here, for example, like that, and just take that down to there, and beyond this tree line here, you can see that if I start creating that sort of effect, just letting, I'm actually, do you see what I'm doing? I'm actually almost pushing like that. Not too hard, but by just bouncing across in a sort of a random sort of way, we're creating very quickly a fairly passable fir tree in the foreground. Let's just bring it down a little bit further. Right, we'll put another one in here, perhaps as a slight angle this time. I'm just stabbing in. Now we'll go into the dark shadow colour and just don't overdo that. You can see I've literally got to do no more than barely touch that. That's perhaps a bit too much again. Don't want it too much, but I think I'll keep this tree in front of that one. So I'll make this darker here, like that, and that'll bring this left hand tree here in front of that. I'll just, by virtue of the fact that these branches here overlap that, and tell the viewer that this is the nearer tree. Now I don't mind these going as dark as they are because I'm going to put snow on them in a minute, so to get that full snow effect, these trees need to be quite dark, so we're playing the dark against light card. Right, now what we're going to do is finish off by using the white gouache, or the pale blue gouache in this case, for the snow on these foreground trees. And I'll also put a little bit of snow on these little scrubby bushes that are put in, using the same brush as that, just literally stabbing in. You can see how effective it is with no skill at all, and in fact I can almost leave some of the spaces here because it looks like snow is sitting in and around the base of the bushes. Right, I've got several mixes of the blue. That's the main white gouache there. I'm just lifting, you can see I'm lifting that out. It's quite thick. We're now just going to stroke it on and just flick it. We don't want to overdo this because I don't want to lose too much of the dark. This is going to be very much dark against light. And remember, this is the blue, the pale blue. So this is the shadow part of the white snow. So we're going to put some highlights of white snow on this. Now this second tree, of course, is a little bit further back, so I'm going to put some of the darker pale blue. You can see that's a bit lighter than that. That's what I've used on this one. I want some of this darker blue going on, even though it's a little bit more watery, because I don't need to be as detailed with it, and because it's a little bit further back, it's going to be a bit bluer. It's only a very subtle effect, but it's quite important and quite effective. Even with snow scenes, things do get bluer and cooler. Even snow can get cooler the further it gets away. Now on here, in the distance, or the middle distance trees, we don't actually need to put snow. The implication is that if there's snow here, these trees in the distance, when you got up close to them, will also have snow on. But it's nice in this little middle distance here, if you just give a little effect using this blue again, and the blue in this case would become the highlighted snow. We're not going to put any white snow on top of these because it'll bring them forward too much. While this was drying, I had another look at these trees and I thought they were getting a little bit stripy, so I've adjusted some of the lights with the snow and the shadows to give a more random effect, and I think that's improved things. We've run some blue and some burnt umber, just a hint of burnt umber to grey things out a bit, to give some definition and character to the snow here. We've added some 1 or 2 highlights to these bushes, not too many, just enough. So I'm happy the way that's turned out. Above all, I hope that's shown you that by using a whole bunch of different types of brushes, we can get all sorts of different effects of fir trees. And it doesn't have to be just one particular brush that you have to use that is a fir tree brush. By adapting your style, you can make all of them work to your advantage.